Tell me what you hear. Numpty. 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 Numpty.
WTF! WTF!
Hello, I'm Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com, a man who owns a pair of New Balance shoes, but who isn't a Nazi. They're just really comfortable, I'll read, but less about that nonsense. Welcome to all the WTF moments from an episode of WWE Raw. Let's get cracking with this knacking. Made a great mistake, Corey. The biggest match in the history of the Raw Women's Championship. Corey, are you dizzy, blood? I cast my mind back to WrestleManias, to Hell in the Cells, to Raw main events, which is supposedly a big deal, even though the third hour doesn't matter half as what it used to back in the day. And last but not least, Elimination Chambers, Ronda versus Nia at Money in the Bank, just not as big as it. And then Jonathan Coachman claimed that it was last week when Bobby Lashley, or Bobby Manson as I shall now be calling him since he was brainwashed by his horrible, horrible sisters during his childhood, told his sisters that he loved them. Now believe me when I say this, that thing happened 2 weeks ago. It was definitely 2 weeks ago. I will never, ever, ever get that horrifying image out of my mind. Nothing behind the eyes, a forced smile. I love you. Horrible viewing, the poor bastard. Bear Cultaholic signs last night. Albany is a Cultaholic town. Thank you very much to Justin Valent, Austin Houston, and Little Winston for spreading the good name of Cultaholic throughout the WWE universe. Join them in joining us and join me in wishing Little Winston a happy 10th birthday. Happy birthday, Winston. What a wholesome point that was, eh? What could be next? Oh, for fuck. But it wasn't all bad, because when Lady Balls came out, she said the following sentence: I will be the one presiding over the Money in the Bank ladder match between Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey. Ha 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 ha! 3/4 of that sentence is absolutely false, and I could not be happier. Welcome back, you dick. Made a great mistake, Corey. Speaking of the man, nah mate, that's the big dog. What reign? Roman's not even a championship match, so how can Roman Reigns start a championship reign when there's no championship match to begin with? And how can the reign stay on the plane in Spain, Roman Reigns? Maggle, 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 maggle. Whoa, maggle. Roman Reigns believes he's been shafted for too long here. Now let me tell you, I watch every single second of WWE Raw. Never ever have I seen Roman Reigns being shafted, and nor do I want to see that happen on primetime television. That's what Pornhub's for. Use a word like cheated, betrayed, deceived, screwed. No, don't use screwed. So Lady Balls tells Roman Reigns that he needs to watch that Samoan temper, or he might be looking for a new line of work. Roman replies to Lady Balls saying that she needs to watch her turn, or else he's going to waltz backstage and destroy her favourite WWE superstars. So nobody then. As we all know, Lady Balls only has time for one WWE superstar, and that is her man balls himself, Triple H. And maybe Kevin Owens, but that's besides the point. The rest of those superstars, she just castrates them, takes their bollocks at them, to her lady bollocks, to make her lady bollocks bigger and stronger than ever before. By doing what you suggested there, big dog, you would not be doing anything. You might as well go for a whiz in her purse, bite on her shoes, because that would really rough her up. Get it? Rough, big dog. Ha ha! Mistake, Corey. And next up, Corey Graves claims that Roman Reigns shouldn't rage too hard against the machine, because we've all seen how that goes. The longest reigning WWE Championship in bare time, the feel-good WrestleMania moment in a generation. Corey Graves, do I need to say any more? I don't. Here's a direct quote from Maggle Cole. Kevin Owens with a number of clotheslines in the corner. Is that a big dog, Maggle? It's not, is it, Maggle? Because Kevin Owens looks more like a big, goodly teddy bear. Ah, what the hell was that? Back to Jonathan Coachman once again, and during that Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens match, he said a really silly thing. He had a feeling that this wouldn't be the last time we saw Stephanie McMahon during the course of this episode of Monday Night Raw, despite the fact a few moments earlier, she clearly said that she would be back out there presiding over the contract signing between Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey. No bollocks, Coachman. I bet Inspector Poirot is fearing for his life. Jinder met Sunil on Tinder. You learn something new every day. So I was confused watching last night's Raw, because we are supposed to boo Jinder Mahal, are we? Out he came to attack Roman Reigns once again, and I say good for him, taking minds back to last week's episode of Monday Night Raw, Jinder Mahal could not continue. He thought he was going to die. Kurt Angle lied to him, saying this was the last night that Money in the Bank qualifying matches could take place. So Jinder valiantly got up, his ribs taped up like a lovely Christmas present, tried to hobble out back into the ring. That was before Roman Reigns, who had been waiting outside the trainer's room for 2 solid hours, the sad bastard, speared him through some cardboard. After all that, I arrived at the conclusion that attack last night from Jinder Mahal was very much warranted, and I wouldn't normally condone animal abuse. Think about it. Back with Michael Cole once again, and after that whole Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal bit was done with, he claimed, what a gutsy performance by Roman Reigns. What on earth do you mean, Michael? He tried to murder a man through a single sheet of cardboard last week, you sick freak. Good on Jinder Mahal for being out there and giving as good as he got, despite the fact he was hindered by a massive old rib injury. He should have been mauled like a small dog, but he wasn't, so good for him. 4 sisters? Cool, Bobby's got 4 sisters, has he? I don't think so, pal. Now, I know it's an easy mistake to make, because when you think of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, you immediately think of those 4 horrible bullying bitches, but there's just 3 of them. Trust me, there's just 3. Thank the Lord there's only 3 of them, of course, because if there was 4, Bobby Lashley would be dead. And then they played it again. Why on earth would you play it again? They tried to tell one story, of course, but ended up opening up several other cans of worms. That interview segment there needs to be Ben Ward, and Ben Ward fast. These 2 in Chicago. Oh, but I suppose we quite literally got $1 billion sitting in your crotch like Vince McMahon has today. Why would you give a toss about anything? Now I'm taking bets for the amount of CM Punk chants during this match, over and under 240, 2-1 on www.creedthoughts.gov.www/creedthoughts for more exclusive offers and more odds. Here's another direct quote from Michael Cole. Here comes Sami Zayn and he promises fireworks. Bollocks, pal. We all know the entire budget for that was used up in Saudi Arabia, a place where Sami gets vertigo. Oh, for fuck. You see, it's really funny because they're supposed to be women, but they're not. They're men in women's clothes. What is this? Working men's clubs in 1978? I take these fingers and eyes. Now, I've got to be honest, I blanked most of this segment out because I was too busy pushing my fingers into my eyes. But I got to a bit where Sami Zayn asked the 3rd sister why she always carried a towel around with her. And I'm here to say that was a redundant question, Sami Zayn, because anyone with a working set of eyes can see she's clearly got IBS and always needs something to wipe with. What the hell is on that towel? So Sami Zayn has been insulting Bobby Lashley's family that he loves so much. He claimed that Bobby's sisters crapped themselves and one even has a bloody moustache. Now, if I had sisters and some ginger prick was besmirched and like that, I would go absolutely radio rental. Not Bobby, though. Out Bobby comes like he's dropped a couple of cowies, floating down the ramp, patting the hands of all the kids, grabbing little girls' hair. Was he not listening? This is why this Bobby Lashley will never work. He has no character. He has no acting abilities. He cannot feel these kayfabe scenarios and act appropriately. Just making the arsehole I've heard so much about from his days in TNA, and everything will be tickety-boo. Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn called Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley. It's clear for all to see that Sami Zayn has been running his fingers through the gaps where Bobby Lashley's eyebrows used to be, because it's all bobbly. So in public, with the entire world watching, Bobby Lashley walks up to a woman and lifts up her skirt. When this happened, my face looked a little bit like this. Ooh. It's a bit harsh, isn't it? I bet she's got 10 or 12. And now it's time for this.
Wankety wank, wankety wank. Wankety wank, wankety wank. Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank.
Welcome to Wankety Wank, the section of WTF Moments where, just like on Blankety Blank, where you fill in the blanks, a sexual wank pheasant tweets in a WTF moment I might have missed from an episode of Raw or SmackDown or a pay-per-view and fills in my peculiar blanks. Thank you to Vera Can't Get Any Satisfaction, who pointed out some historical things. When did Vince die? And anyway, considering Lady Balls is Lady Boner for Kevin Owens, a man who of course tried to murder Vince McMahon on SmackDown Live just last year, it's shocking to see Lady Balls with a picture of her dad in her office to begin with. If someone was to waltz up to me before Raw last night and say, hey Ross Twiddell, Stephanie McMahon's got a picture in her office, what would it be of? I would have said this. So get this right, Lady Balls herself quite literally just took Kurt Angle's office away from him, just like social services seemingly took away Jason Jordan, since Kurt Angle always forgets he exists. We get it, she's back, she's powerful, she can squash anything, she's got all of the bananas in her fruit basket. She can make you look back at WrestleMania and think, oh, the best match on the card, it meant absolutely nothing. She's just tickety-boo, isn't she? So hang on a second there, Lady Bálor. You wouldn't give Braun Strowman and your boy Finn Bálor a match against Poundland, Diesel and Shawn Michaels because they're not a proper tag team? When has that ever mattered before? Ever? And when you think about it, Poundland, Shawn Michaels and Diesel, who of course is Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, aren't technically a proper tag team themselves. It's clear for all to see that they were just thrown together so Dolph Ziggler's record scratch at the start of his theme actually makes some pissing sense. That's how you do it, Great Carly. One take live in front of the world. Bosh, just like Stephanie McMahon likes to do to bollocks. Braun Strowman is very good. And next up we have Poundland, Shawn Michaels having to go at either Kurt Angle or Chad Gable for not being in the gym while they were doing that backstage segment live on WWE Raw. First of all, why would they be in the gym when they need to be at Raw? And second of all, you aren't in the gym either, are you, tit? Poundland, Shawn Michaels and asks Chad Gable, what's your claim to fame, kid? Amateur wrestling? And then starts laughing with Kurt Angle, who isn't. Lol. I'll tell you who. Drew McIntyre. So why on earth is he laughing there? One day we'll find out why they used that picture there, and then one day I will lay myself to rest. So last week on Raw, Kurt Angle told Jinder Mahal that he had to have his Money in the Bank qualifying match last week on Raw because last week on Raw was the final opportunity Raw superstars had to qualify for Money in the Bank. I would like to hear his explanation as to why that match there is happening, and second of all, why two members of the same team are in the same bloody match. It makes no pissing sense, no matter how many times you do it. On to the latest episode of the documentary about Stephanie Lady Ball's life, which was last night's WWE Raw. Isn't it just tickety-boo? Where Lady Balls herself claimed there's no weight divisions in WWE, despite the fact her own pissing husband literally runs the gaff on 205 Live. Lady Balls, what on earth do you think's going on when Man Balls invites those little munchkins round to your house for tea? There they all are, running around your house, taking the piss out your dog, pushing your weights over, sort of looking like WWE superstars, but not quite because they're a little bit smaller, and you're not asking questions. What's wrong with you? Oh, aye, that's because she flattens them, cuts the bollocks off, and adds those bollocks to her Lady Bowls to make her Lady Bowls bigger, greater, and stronger than ever before. How on earth do you explain the lack of Brian, Kendrick, and Tozawa among other names on 205 Live in recent times? Because they're dead. Yep. Now I know that Dana Brooke has been making an arse of her in-ring career on the main roster so far, but that there's taken it a bit too far, don't you think? Right then, so they are in an MITB qualifying match. They look at each other, they look up at the briefcase, they look back at each other, then they start laughing and say, nah, we don't want that. What's the point in being out there then? Why didn't one of you just lay it down so the other could cover you, and all three members of Poundland Absolution could be involved in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match? With bollocks like that going on, I've got one message for you, Riot Squad. Pack your Absolution tribute act and go the piss home. So Elias claims after being in Paris and Turin and around Europe, which is a lovely, lovely, lovely continent, didn't you know, it's soul destroying to be in a city of a dump like Albany. Someone I messed, order there up the sentence, think of I do. Hobo Jarrett's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Wood, Guitar, Sex, Maggle. And finally Slippery When Wet, which is just in reference to his wet hair and nothing else, you dirty bastard. So 2 weeks after last week's episode of Monday Night Raw, where Kurt Angle claimed it was the last opportunity for Monday Night Raw superstars to qualify for Money in the Bank, we are going to have another massive Money in the Bank qualifying match. Kurt Angle is a liar, pass it on.
Look at his smile, isn't it pretty?
Braun Strowman like smiley Finn Bálor. And finally, I will end this car crash episode of WTF Moments for WWE Raw by, first of all, thank you for being sexual wank pheasants, and Raw is hams. If you want to follow me on the Twitter machine, it's at Ross on Wrestling. If you like what we do here at Cultaholic.com, you can play us to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Anything you can afford to give us will be greatly appreciated, and we will love you for a very long time. But most importantly of all, do not forget to join us every form of social media, apart from a Polaroid camera from the 1980s.